Hey all, good evening or good afternoon, morning, wherever you are. It's July 9th, 2025. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. Just going to tell you about how wrong I am, or my decision was not good in the 2024 election, apparently, because things have just been going downhill since, I don't know, the last few months. In fact, really, when Donald Trump came into office, from about January through a bit of February, but once we got past those couple of months, everything has gone pretty much downhill, in my opinion, regarding Trump's presidency and how he's running his administration. Okay, so I'm about to share with you another video from Dialogue Works, Nima's show. He's interviewing John Helmer, and I appreciated what John Helmer said regarding the way Trump has been acting. So I'm going to share that with you now.
So how in the world, by providing more weapons, you're going to kill less Ukrainians?
Well, I think you're right. It's very important to say what you've just said, Nima, and thank you for saying it. Trump is now showing what he's really like. And a lot of the talk that we've been considering, that he's sincere in trying to make peace, is exposed now by himself. And the rhetoric includes expletives. He now swears at President Putin. Following that clip of him speaking at the dinner with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I'll put it up on my Dances with Bears, the full clip, so that our audience can watch it. It's very important to watch what this man now says and the way in which Netanyahu goads him. You can also see in the background of the clip you just showed us the Secretary of Defense, Peter Hegseth, nodding his head. Now, there is a personality cult in Washington. You got on one side of Trump, Secretary of State Rubio, the other side on his left, Hegseth, and they nod. They nod in compliance with everything the president says. And further down the table, you have Trump's ambassador to Israel, Huckabee, piling on the compliments. He can't open his mouth, Trump, now, no matter what he says, without his men nodding their heads and agreeing. So you have a personality cult increasingly visible, and that's encouraging Trump not to be careful in the way he speaks of others, including the president of Russia, and of the way he speaks of the so-called enemy states, Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, and so on. He's no longer careful. He now uses expletives. And the big change is what we've been saying all along. And it's not comfortable to say, we've been saying it all along. This man is arguably the most violent, least personally controlled individual ever to sit in the Oval Office, to be president of the United States. And what he's doing now effectively changes Russia's approach. Now, we've been talking in the past about the Oreshnik moment, metaphorically and literally. That's the moment when President Putin has exhausted all of the diplomatic options he's put on the table. As we were talking about before, as you said yourself, Nima, the big Russian move has been to put 33 points of negotiation to end the war in the Ukraine and to end the war in Europe, basically, on the table in Istanbul. They matched the 22 points which Trump's emissary to the Ukraine, General Kellogg, worked out with the Ukrainian side, with the approval of the British, the French, and the Germans in London. So 33 points on the Russian side, facing 22 points on the Ukrainian side, the American side, the European side, represented what President Putin called last week two memorandums, which were completely opposite or opposed to one another. And Putin added, that's why we're in negotiation, to see how we can bring the two together. Putin's been completely consistent and stuck to that line. And in supporting that line, he said it himself, but he's also had Foreign Minister Lavrov say it, and he's had his spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, keep saying it. We believe the President of the United States is, quotes, sincere. We appreciate his efforts to negotiate. Well, negotiations finished. Trump has just said it. There's no point in negotiating with Trump. He doesn't want it. His understanding of negotiation has now been revealed in the two words he's used. He used in the following that dinner with Netanyahu, he had a cabinet meeting. I don't know if you got the clip there. I'll put it on Dances with Bears. But he says, essentially, and he uses the swear word bullshit. Putin throws a lot of bullshit at me. He's nice, but it's meaningless. Now, what's meaningless is Trump can't negotiate. He won't negotiate. He doesn't understand and doesn't accept negotiation. All he understands and accepts is what he keeps repeating he did to Iran: bomb them. He only understands, to use it in strategic jargon, escalation dominance, escalation control. And 2 points about that. For the Russian side, they now have to accept that the man, President Trump, is mad, cognitively mad. Why? His vanity has become overwhelming. You've heard him over the last few days endlessly repeat he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He repeated it in front of Netanyahu. Netanyahu presented him a letter nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize, although it's 6 months too late past the official date. But Trump has worked out the way to break the deadline too. So, and he's got the Norwegian Prime Minister on his side for that. So the vanity reflects something that's beyond control. And when he uses his mouth to use expletives in the direction of President Putin, he's insulting the president of Russia and refusing to negotiate. The second part of the madness is the belief that you can bomb your adversary into submission. And we've talked about that last time. His belief that the bombing of Iran obliterated is a word he keeps repeating. And this man's brain is only capable of repeating slogans. Obliterate was the term he kept repeating after the bombing of the 3 Iranian nuclear plants. And the words he keeps repeating since the telephone call with President Putin on July 3rd was, I'm very disappointed with Putin. He no longer calls him President Putin, he calls him Putin. I'm very disappointed. I'm very unhappy. I'm very disappointed. Trump doesn't say this once in a conversation. He says it 2 or 3 times in one conversation and then repeats it the next day. So we come closer to an acceptance on the Russian side that all the effort to get Trump to the negotiating table, all the optimism and goodwill that Trump brought when inaugurated, that he would be different from Biden
Exactly.
has now evaporated out of Trump's very vulgar and insulting mouth.
Thank you, John Helmer. You are speaking spot on the way I am feeling, how I've been hearing him talk and how I don't like it, okay? I mean, this whole thing. He has this, as I said in videos a few months back, Trump has this character, this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character, flip-flopping all over the place, going from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. And if you know anything about that story from Robert Louis Stevenson, Dr. Jekyll creates, it's like his other side, his other person in him, Mr. Hyde, who's a monster, basically. And I think he was doing things with his lab and trying these concoctions, that ended up making him into this terrible monster, Mr. Hyde. Well, that's how Trump is acting. He has gotten progressively worse over the past few weeks, especially, but the past month, and then it's just been even more so, more obvious. And I agreed with everything that John said. And, at this point, I feel like it seems to me now that Dr. Jekyll isn't there. It's Mr. Hyde, and he's basically killed off Dr. Jekyll. And, he says all these things that aren't even, they're so obviously lies, falsehoods. Like, oh, I was instrumental in stopping the Serbia-Kosovo. They were going to go to war, and I realized, reading up on that, he wasn't talking about in 1999 when he wasn't in, which it never made sense. I was like, why is he talking about something that happened way back? He wasn't in office. No, they're talking about, the article said it's possible he was saying, he's meaning now. Well, he didn't have anything to do with that. And we all know what the plan is, as we've watched with Alex Craner and Colonel McGregor, that he wants, with the CIA, the MI6, the Mossad, Azerbaijan, Turkey's deep state, or if they have intel, whatever it is. Yeah. They want to get rid, they want to crumble and separate, just dismantle Iran, and they want to dismantle and ruin Russia. But here he is, and he says things like Trump, as John was saying, he says things like, now either Trump is under the thumb of either he doesn't care anymore, or he's under the thumb of the neocons. But either way, it's not in a good direction, and I don't see how any of this is going to. I don't even know how it's going to go in the next 3.5 years, but other than what the Orthodox prophecies say, which is not good. And I want to say his comments when he had the phone call with Putin, I'm very unhappy, I'm very disappointed in Vladimir Putin. I'm disappointed. Yeah, in other words, he's disappointed because how dare Putin not agree with whatever suggestion you make. That's what I get out of every time I listen to Trump. It better be what I say. It's his negotiation tactics are nothing but mafia tactics. Like he's the mafia boss. Now you better do this or you're going to end up dead or pummeled. And in this case, for him, well, I'll show you what he thinks. Newsweek article, okay? Now, we already know what he said about Putin. We get a lot of BS thrown at us from Putin. What do you think Putin feels like with you, Donald Trump? You're the one that constantly peddles out BS. You're like a used car salesman. But again, at the same time, it's mixed up with your sales, used car salesman mixed with a mobster. Okay? Well, in any case, Donald Trump threatened Putin and he would bomb Moscow and Beijing. Now here, I don't know what this audio is, but Donald Trump said he had separately warned both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping that he would bomb their respective capitals if either of them invaded their neighbors. Newly released audio broadcast by CNN shows the U.S. president was recorded speaking at a private fundraiser in 2024 about his conversations with Putin and Xi. So he was already talking to them before this. Apparently, I don't know. Was he president at the time? I don't know. I believe it said it in November or something. But anyway, with Putin, I said, if you go into Ukraine, I'm going to bomb the SHIT out of Moscow. Trump is heard saying, recounting his version of their conversation. He also said that with Xi, he also threatened to bomb the SHIT out of Beijing if it invaded Taiwan and self-governing island that China claims as its own. Earth to President Trump and our whole government that is obsessed with Taiwan and China. Taiwan is part of China. It has been for a long time. And we all agreed with that, the one China policy. We already agreed with that a long time ago. So the fact that he sat there and, again, it was Mafia Don. If you do anything like this, we're going to bomb the SHIT out of you. Now, I realize that, I don't know if it's in here. Let me check. Now, Newsweek has contacted the Russian and Chinese foreign ministries for comment, as well as White House outside of regular office hours. So, why it matters. Trump has repeatedly said that if he had been president, Putin would not have invaded Ukraine. After months of what many saw as him promoting closer ties between Washington and Moscow, Trump is becoming increasingly critical of Putin's intransigence. In any case, this was released in 2024, that audio. And I believe Putin said he didn't believe him, or if he did, he only believed him by 10%. Is what I heard in another story. The point is, you don't talk to world leaders like this. Respected world leaders. Very intelligent world leaders, which is what Donald Trump apparently is lacking. And so, yeah. I voted for change in 2024 after the tyranny under Biden, especially during the sickness. And I thought, hey, maybe somebody will come in and do something different. Well, that was my mistake. I shouldn't have voted at all, or voted third party or something, because that only lasted a month to 2 months. And I know I've said this before, that I was getting irritated by him, but I am extremely irritated at this point. And, I apologize to those people who were like, oh, why are you voting for him? He's terrible. Okay, yeah. You're right. I was too full of trying to find hope because of the disaster that had been the last 4 years. But I should have figured nobody's going to fix this corrupt government until after the war. And unfortunately, our country has to become a remnant of it, not just, land-wise, considering the prophecies, well, with the civil wars, the protests, but then the military gathering up the government, Congress and government. That sounds like a coup to me. Yeah, because I'm sure at this point the American people are sick and tired, because every time they try to get somebody decent to represent them, they're majorly disappointed. Anyway, this is somewhat of a rant, but it's really just sharing my thoughts on this. And I don't know if I'm ever going to vote again. I just feel like it's ridiculous and it's useless at this time, and perhaps maybe years from now that'll change for me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on there. Follow me on Rumble if you'd like. Share my videos if you would like. Like my videos if you like them. I really appreciate it. I thank you so much for your support. Until next time.